everybody! Yankee and the Canuck. We decided to do a pop up on a Wednesday night, so you're gonna have a good time no matter what. I promise you. How you doing, Edward?
Good stuff. It's Wednesday. I'm happy. It's a rainy day today. It was a rainy day, but you know what? A good day nonetheless. Lots of news going on out there. I don't know what you've been listening to, but I know what my feeds have been filled with all kind from the rocket launch to the 51st state stuff. I mean, all
Oh,
kinds of that
I
going on.
I think we're gonna have plenty to talk about. Let's talk about the rocket launch. So real quick, Starship test. What was it? 9. And they blew the thing up in a spectacular fashion, which is to be
Love
expected.
that.
Absolutely expected. Hold on, let me see if if Tess is joining the. Oh, let me turn on the live
Oh,
chats real
I
quick.
haven't seen
Uh,
that's in a long time.
yeah, well, I think he's on the X chat.
All right.
Let me open that up and see if he's chilling with us.
Uh-huh.
I thought he was. Anyways, yeah. Hey, Cass, if you're listening, I got your message, and yeah, we'll talk soon. No worries. So, Elon, the politically just unsavvy are cheering Elon blew up a rocket. Uh, you know what? This is all. He did this when he was doing it with the Falcon 9. He did this when he was doing it with the Falcon. He called it the Big Falcon Rocket. What a clever name. That
Uh-huh.
dude's got a big Falcon rocket.
Great name.
He did it with the heavy, the Falcon Heavy, and he did it with the Super Heavy. And these are and he they have progressed at a rate beyond any other spacefaring company.
I
So
know.
you would say, well, NASA did this, or NASA had this. That NASA was buying time in space from a private company. That would have been space launch systems. That would have been. So it's never NASA never has produced a thing on their own
But you
ever.
know, and the money that they've still we went over that before, how much they've commandeered, and for what you get for it. Elon's just 10 times better, faster, quicker, the whole spiel. Leaps, tall buildings in a single bound. I mean, the guy's just what he's been doing, so hats off to him, really. Love that. I'm not really an electric car guy, but be that as it may, it's not the coming thing. So go ahead and do it, but not for me. I'm an oil and gas guy.
No, I get that. And look, I don't have. I think a lot of people should be. But I've been in a Tesla. My brother owns a Tesla. It's an incredible vehicle. Incredible.
I know it. Yep.
Absolute. And you get in it and you watch like the screen of where the car knows what's around it, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing how it can identify a motorcycle from a
Hmm.
semi truck, from a pickup truck, from a
Yep.
sedan.
I know.
Uh, it's incredible. And I
And
think uh,
they could use that same technology in other
Question
gas.
for me is like, how corrupt is the DNC if
yes, they could.
so many people
I
knew
didn't
or
hit play on that, so sorry.
No, it's all right. You should play that because that's a good clip right there. I want to jump all over that one. Not that.
Oh, we will totally get to that, but we're talking about since
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far from Elon's companies. Let's do this. So this is a view of the launch, and this is from several miles away with high-powered cameras.
All right.
But there's also like a cell phone video of the two that were they're doing a live podcast, and so the for the science nerds, the amount of time it takes for sound to travel, right, at ground level, roughly 680 miles an hour.
Yeah, something like
Uh,
that. 700. I can't remember now, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's somewhere in there, and it's not static. It's dependent upon what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But let's check this out because this is what the sound of Starship is like from several miles out.
I see David. There's the light. And they've lit the engines.
We're going.
And it is going. We are airborne.
Go Starship!
Go up. Okay.
27-story building.
27-story building, yeah.
Looks like all engines. That's the engine.
Oh my god!
It's obvious it's shaking tripods, several miles out, shaking tripods. They weren't expecting it. I mean, I know the specific account. Ellen stays she's a live podcaster, and she does all these launches. She covers it. They caught him off guard. It's incredible.
How far away did you say they were?
A couple of miles.
Wow, those shock or sound, well, shockwave, sound waves, same thing.
Both
Yeah,
shockwave, sound
I
waves.
can't believe, how hard they were from that far away. I just that's incredible. I wish I was there. I mean, not that I'm a science nerd, but well, yeah, I guess I am in some senses, very much. But yeah, I love that stuff. Good
Oh,
for you.
incredible!
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's no different than the physics you do in your industry.
Well,
It's all physics.
but it's just a different a different field of
Yes.
physics that I just love that. Love that guy.
So did that clip that just started playing out of nowhere, and it was just the mouse. I'm blaming it on the mouse. I've got David Hogg trying to explain who was running the White House during the Biden administration. That clip, is that the one you wanted me to actually play
Yeah,
through?
didn't have to. I was just interested
Oh,
because of the
well,
past history. I thought, oh my god! And you know what? How is anybody going to, unless they come out and say, hey, you know what? It's been United Nations front people, using some of the people in the U.S. administration running things. Unless they're going to come out and tell the truth, I don't want to hear it really, because that's exactly who's been giving all these policies and dictating the orders and
well,
policies to the
uh,
West, which is us.
I I've been clear on this. We should probably play the clip, but I've been clear on this. The administration ran on complete autopilot,
Mm.
and the very few, because it can, because everything works in silos. All the different agencies work in silos. All that, they don't talk to each other.
Mm.
And if no, it's true. And if the president needs to get them together, right? He holds a cabinet meeting. Joe Holt held, like, I don't know, a dozen over 4 years. Trump's getting close to half a dozen already in 6 months. Uh, so nobody was at the helm, and that doesn't matter to these agencies. They can run on autopilot.
Well, they
It
can.
was, I think, in this clip that it gets into it a little bit. I think with the executive orders and with the pardons, especially of his own family, Joe Biden had no knowledge of that, and
I say,
that needs to be looked into.
yeah, because that the auto pen even was signing all these orders and whatnot. Come on, I mean, we all know that Joe couldn't read a thing, uh, let alone understand what he was reading. So yeah, I mean, we already know that other people are already controlling and operating the government, not him. And I still stand by the United
Yeah.
Nations policies being rammed down the pipe there. Not a doubt in my mind. The same thing was happening here. It's still happening here. So yeah, I'm just appalled by the whole thing. And the good thing
Dude,
that
did you see what was it? Quebec, their provincial uh, government, so like a state government here in the states.
it is.
They held a vote, and they said they were like rejecting being part of the monarchy. Like, and it's in
Oh,
French, of course. So I had to read the English translation on the
Right.
screen below. And I'm just like, that's hilarious because the
Well,
king's not going to recognize your stupid little vote.
yeah. And you know what? I think it's time that we got rid of the monarchy once and for all. We talked about that lots too. We've talked about that at length for the last, I don't know how many years we've been going through this now. We always talk about the same thing.
Two,
Quebec
three,
is
I don't know, a
right.
lot.
Yeah, Quebec is right in that recognizing that. And I don't care if the other side, like the king and whatnot, recognize them or not, anyways. The point is, they're not conforming, they're not following, get lost. And I'm with them on that. And I think a lot of other Canadians are. I don't mean as far as French or Quebec, I mean other provinces are on the same wavelength, like get lost already. And by the way, that's $61 billion. Uh, hey, we get to have a military. We get to have a military, Sean. Everybody's like, that's what yeah, we actually get to have a military again. Are you kidding? Of course. Where do we sign up? Where's the dotted line here? We get
So
to have a military.
the big, beautiful Golden Dome. Trump proclaims on Truth Social Post, right?
Uh-huh.
He said, right after the king gave his little speech in Parliament, Trump, because Trump's the greatest troll on the planet. I used to think it was Elon. It's actually probably Trump.
I think
But
it is too.
they're
Although I still
close
like,
1 and 2.
yeah. I
So
still like
Trump
Elon.
posts, "Hey, I just spoke with Canada, and I said if they want to be included in the protections of the Golden Dome system, their cost will be $61 billion.
Uh-huh.
But if they become a state, it will be free." That's the
Hey,
post.
and don't you think that's wonderful? Great. I mean, really, we get to have a military and get rid of that stupid imaginary borderline that is drawn. Yeah, let's get rid of all that. And be the 51st state, one nation. The West can truly be the West again, and get rid of these stupid libtards that are employed by our government that always vote libtard because why are we giving up our money? Of course, right? We got to keep them in power. Yeah, we get rid of all those idiots, and yeah, they can find real jobs after that and find out how the real world is, right? So, won't that be
Right?
interesting? Yeah, disappointing to them, happiness for us
Aye.
all the way along. I mean, we're the ones pulling this whole economy along, and these dolphs are at the helm. They're just sucking the money out of Canada, pretending they're working, making jobs up for themselves. Oh yeah, let's do another experiment, a scientific experiment now on the North doing something, and we'll just claim a couple $100 million to do it, and just live high off the hog doing nothing. This is what these idiots are doing. Of course, they're not going to vote conservative, but yeah, that's what we're up against. We've been doing this now for what, a decade plus now. So yeah, about time we got rid of those guys once and for all. That's my
Well,
rant.
but I think it's going to take more than a vote from Quebec. I think it's going to take more than Alberta trying to secede.
It's not just Alberta though.
I saw Kess's comment there.
Oh,
Who
Kess is.
wants who wants a King Charles? I'm trying to bring the chat back online, but uh, yeah, it's going out slowly. But the monarchy hasn't been the same for years now. And
No.
you know what? A lot of people really did like Queen Elizabeth, even though they rejected the monarchy, including Americans, and they followed
Yeah.
it. They followed the royal family. She was
Wow.
a very beloved human being.
Yeah.
But I do think what was going on or is going on with Canada is they've just been reminded, and they were never but they were never reminded that they were part of the monarchy, that they'd never really gotten their independence from the monarchy.
Oh,
And
I know.
King Charles III came in and said as much. You are my people.
You're king.
Uh,
I
I
know.
am your king.
And you
And I
know,
think people went, I saw a lot of things on social media, a little bit from Canadians, mostly. It was actually from Europeans, saying the king is visiting the one true north. The one true north is reunited with the king. Just stupid stuff.
I
Stupid.
know. And you know what?
Right.
What do they know anyways, the Europeans, as far as what's gone on over here? And you know what? Quite frankly, and we had this discussion with this client I have, and we were talking about, how we got, the metric system, and what was that, the late 70s, early 80s, why we had to be part of Europe. We don't even trade with Europe. We don't even have any trade with those people at all. Why wouldn't we stick with America and the system we already had? Why we had to be, European or one world order, and join this metric system, which is an idiotic system anyways. And I challenge anybody, on your measurements of 10 units, which comes out of nowhere. Like, we base everything on imperial by water. You can get water anywhere, and you can use that for our measurements. In case you don't have a measuring tape, in case you don't have a measuring cup, you could just use water, and its weight, and weigh it out, whatever, to get all your measurements right off of that. You can't do that with a millimeter or a meter, because there's nothing in the world that it's just a made up thing. And they told us that the foot was a made up thing. It was just the length of a king's foot and stupid stuff like that. Anyways, let's get off that, because it still ticks me off to this very time, this very year, this very moment in time, how much they lied to us in this socialist propaganda system that we're members of, that we got to get out of. I'm ranting again, Sean, because while I'm in that mood, you got me in the mood.
Hey, let me ask you this: how many hands tall is your tractor?
How many what?
Well, they measure horses in hands, so how
Yes, they
many
do.
hands tall is your tractor?
Oh, it's 16 hands high. It's a big one. 16 and a half.
Wait, who had the half hand? Was it Napoleon?
It's only half.
It
right
had to
there.
be Napoleon, right? Because the dude
Well,
was like 4 foot tall. He was also French, but he was part of the United Kingdom.
oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
Gotta do just a show on just this junk science, and these politicians. They're killing me, Sean. They're killing me. Just the ridiculousness of these people. I don't know, and now I know why the media is so suppressed and hidden away from us, because they know anybody with any brains, and you don't even have to have like a grade 9 education to have an argument or debate with these people, because they really don't know anything. They're absolutely retarded. And to hold a lecture with any of them, it'd be embarrassing to the government that the people would see, hey, these are the morons actually running our country. They really don't know what's going on. So they're taking their orders from something or someone other than themselves. So interesting.
Yeah, so let's go a little farther down the rabbit hole, because Kessa's being a very active participant in the chat group. And he's saying that the EU has its own issues.
Oh, yeah.
Poland told them to go shove it. Hungary is getting spied on and blamed by Ukraine. Germany totally relies on Russia now for all of their energy. He says fuel, but all of their energy. Natural gas is how they power their
Trump warned them
electric
about that.
plants.
I remember Trump telling that same thing, on his first term. Do not be fully reliant.
2017, 2018.
Yep.
Yeah, Trump called him like right
What's
after
it?
it. Called him
Didn't
out.
listen to
So,
him. Yeah.
you guys, you guys are all Russia mad, but you're buying all your energy from Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? This media, this worldwide media, these dum dums that we have to listen to, we should just be doing the opposite. Whatever they tell us, we should be doing the opposite of right off, because that will be the right way to go. These guys, we could just go on and on with the ridiculous stories that they actually have, and the nerve that they even have to spread them to the rest of the world. I'd be embarrassed, but obviously they're getting paid handsomely enough to do that. They don't care if they sell their soul to, who. So, yeah, I'm in one of those moods. I could.
I don't think that. I think you're right. I think it's a devil went down to Georgia type of moment. If you remember that song,
I do.
they sold their soul
Yep.
for this unbelievably posh job where they do almost nothing, no work,
I know, but
and
still.
get paid ridiculous amounts of money on top of all the other income they get, writing books or whatever. Like, it's, and you
Stock
go,
market tips from
well,
Nancy Pelosi.
why wouldn't everyone want to be a politician? It doesn't matter where you live, what
I know.
country. Why wouldn't you want to be a politician? What
Yeah.
a sweet gig! I show up at I don't know. I'm gonna show up at noon today. Hey, listen, I'm going to lunch. Are you gonna be back? No.
No, because I'm going to, yeah, the bar on the hill, which is taxpayer funded. It's got some good stuff. Yeah, yeah, and I'm just
But
I'm beyond the Nancy Pelosi stuff and the Chuck Schumers and all those people. They just
oh my
they kill
god,
me. And
dude,
yet,
I've got a personal mission. So Tom Tillis is in my state, and he's got a couple of people who have filed their FEC paperwork. I'm looking through them. I believe Don Winslow is one of them. I'm looking at these people. When I get a better decision, I'll tell you. But his primary is March 3rd, 2026. Think how close that is.
I know.
It's
Mhm.
almost June.
I know.
March is
Nobody's
right around the
talking about
corner.
that. Not
And
even.
I'm just gonna run a massive social media campaign to get people to show up for a primary. Why should I have to do that?
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
people don't
mhm.
show up in American primary elections.
Same
They
here.
go, well, I don't need to do that. It's fine. The party will work itself out. They don't.
No.
Secret. They don't. They don't.
They need
And
to get.
so
Yeah, they
you
need.
have to show, like, the primaries are probably more important than a presidential general election.
I'd say so too. At least you're starting with the right people to begin with, and then the rest will take care of itself. And I think the same voting goes on here. We're on the municipal level. That's where all the damage is done, and it goes up to the top. It does the opposite, and then everybody's voting for this one guy to be prime minister, thinking he's controlling the whole thing, and it's not true. The municipal levels, they're the ones that start all this nonsense that we could work ourselves out of and against, but people don't realize that they're still just voting on that one Hail Mary pass of just we vote this one person in and they'll change everything. Well, if you're a communist country, it will, but not the way these supposed democratic societies are set up. Even America, the three levels of government is supposed to protect against all that, right? There's a good system in place there, and we have that same one, pretty close. But yeah, it's just it's a mess.
Well, absolutely the best system that's ever
Yours
been
is
invented.
the
Even though
Constitutional Republic.
even though it's flawed, right? Even
Wow.
though it's not like people are
Hey, look, guys,
skirting.
it's not heaven here. It's still earth. We all read it. We all know that. It's not going to be
Well,
perfect, but
it was
you get.
and they said to form. Right, they were trying to form a more perfect union, knowing that it's not
Yeah,
perfect.
that's exactly right. And
And to
I,
continue to form a more perfect union. And you know what? I wish I had a clip of Rush earlier today, and I did not save it.
mm,
Talking about the genius of the founders,
yeah,
and think about the time period they lived in.
another thing.
Born in the Some of them born in the 1720s. Some of them born.
Yeah,
A couple
right.
of them were pretty young. A couple of them were born in the 1770s, 60s.
Yeah,
So that's the
1776,
founders.
1778. Yeah, that would make sense if they were born in the early 1700s. Yes, I could see that.
Yeah,
Of course.
and so in the genius that they had in that George Washington. Apparently, they blame him for the 7 Years' War. Uh, 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 Whatever, that it might or might not be historically accurate, and I don't care. But
Yeah, neither here nor there
the
now.
crown, Great Britain, has always been pissed off at defectors.
Well,
They
I
were
know. Can you blame them though? I mean,
they were the
that's their
biggest
job.
expansionary
Yeah,
country on the planet, and you can go, wait, Russia? And I go, no,
yeah.
Britain. Britain was the look at how in the 1800s and even early 1900s, how much territory Britain owned.
I know. I know. Scary. And that's why, remember, we said back in that one news clip that Queen Elizabeth, when she died, she was biggest landowner of anybody on Earth, and you're thinking, well, how can that be? Great Britain's only so big, right? But when you calculate everything like Australia, Canada, the Falkland Islands, and on and on and on, that's a lot of land. So yeah, I can see why they say that. But yeah, and
Hey, so I do have we'll take a quick break. I have a clip. So Rush got an award after he passed in Florida. It's not
love
a
that guy.
Marconi. I wish it was. I wish it would have been a Marconi. But he was awarded an award in Florida as a broadcaster. It's a quick 3 minutes.
All right, we got
Hey,
to see.
producer Sean, throw the clip on.
I love Sean. I should say
Apparently, producer Sean.
my favorite guy. Yeah, when it comes to media.
And greetings to you, thrill seekers, conversationalists, and music lovers all across the bountiful and optimistic fruited plain. It's the Rush Limbaugh program here on the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. I knew when I was 8. When I started working, my first job was shining shoes in the barbershop when I was 13. I knew I wanted to always work. I started radio when I was 16, and every day in summer vacation, I'm getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, go to work at the radio station. You couldn't keep me out of there. I just loved it. KFBK Radio Sacramento. That turned out to be my big break. I was hired and given a chance to do radio the way I'd always wanted to do it for the first time in my career.
These small owners were saying, what are we going to do for programming? And then appeared Rush. He was a pioneer, and he captivated audiences, and he started one market at a time.
Rush was responsible not for the development of modern conservatism, but for its explosion into the mainstream of American life. He paved the path for so many other great conservatives. The nation and all of us owe him deeply for this. He single-handedly resurrected AM talk radio.
He believed so much in what he was doing. He wanted to be a voice for all of these families. He wanted to be someone at the front for all of these patriots who perhaps didn't have their voice heard. And he was a pioneer. He led the way for many radio careers, for many media careers. He, in my mind, will always be a hero in conservative ideology. He was always engaged. He was always trying to be his absolute best. He never wanted to let this audience down. He was truly a hero in many respects.
Today marks 1 year since we lost the Babe Ruth of talk radio, the legend Rush Limbaugh. He was the king of conservative talk radio, paved the way for Fox News, loved by millions and millions of people.
It wouldn't have happened without you. If it weren't for any of you, all of this would just be an academic exercise. And I'm so appreciative, more appreciative of it than I ever thought I could be, given the circumstances of my life this year. And so I have the opportunity here of using my own program to try to convey all of the love and the gratitude that I have for, well, it's the numbers of millions of people are just astounding.
Nobody's ever going to be able to take over the spot of the golden EIB microphone. And a lot of his loyal fans consider him one of the founding fathers, which physically is impossible. But he renewed the faith in conservative values, and I think that's why he gets the credit for that. And I'm gonna say
That's American exceptionalism right there. And by the way, do you know what award that was that the President Trump gave him? And I think that was a State of the Union address.
I believe it was the Medal of Freedom. I can verify that for you later.
I think that was a nice touch that he did.
I believe it was the high. Well, I do know it was the highest medal a civilian can get.
Okay, all right.
Non-military.
And you know what? He did deserve that. The years, and actually, he just had that uncanny way of delivering the obvious that we should have all known, right in our face, like hit you right over the head with a 2x4 type of knock the stupid out of you, common sense and thinking, well, yeah, why didn't I think of it in that way? But he just had that ability to do that. And he's always been one of my favorites. Yeah, that was a nice touch that the president did for him in his last
Incredible.
year, or maybe it was 2 years. I can't remember now, but wow, one of my faves. Good guy too.
Oh, incredible! It well deserved, honestly. You know what? And if it made a whole bunch of liberals mad, well,
Wow.
you're just gonna have to deal with it. Obama gave awards out.
Can't beat
Biden wasn't even president. Well, but he got elected. Yeah, but he was not mentally
No.
president. Like you've had lots of Democrats that have given awards out to other people. So just STFU.
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh was like to those of us that listened. I listened for over 20 years, so not 30 years. I think he ran 32, 33 years before that show where I think Clay Travis was running the show, and it might have been someone else. I think it was Clay Travis, and Catherine called into the show and called to Bo Snerdley, right, the call screener, and said, yeah, he just passed. And everybody lost it and had to just try to compose themselves and do a 3-hour radio program.
Well, I became your friend. I mean, yeah. After all those years listening to that guy, I never got that opportunity to do because, well, I'm in the wrong country, but for one thing, but you did get to hear different things on and off, through time, and it was, glad for that. But just to listen to all the old shows, and you have
did you know he was one of the first podcasters, and he did it through his own website?
Did not
so
know
he
that.
would often talk about the Ditto Cam, and there was a charge. I paid for it for a couple of years. Some years I didn't pay for it because there was no way I could watch it because I was working, right?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Other times I paid for it and I watched it later. That's a personal decision. He would do the show, and it was simulcast across the nation on hundreds of networks.
Yeah.
Biggest show that's ever been done by simulcast, by audience count. But he was one of the first. We're doing a podcast. He was one of the first podcasters because he had a webcam on him, and he broadcast the whole thing live of him just like this, looking at his computer screen, reading the stories, or picking up a physical piece of paper from his stack of stuff. Remember the stack of stuff? And you would get to watch the whole thing. And you had to pay for it, but you have to pay to watch. Ours is free. Ours is free. But you have to pay to watch, what Timcast does. Timcast does stuff free, then Timcast says subscriber only. Other people say, well, you can watch part of it for free, but subscriber only. His was subscriber only. He set the model for podcasting in 2025. Back 15 years ago.
And I don't mind that subscriber only thing because he had the content. He had, what we needed to hear. He had what was important. Not the CNN garbage stuff you hear today. We want real fact, of real direction the country's heading into. Not what these dum-dums we watch today on MSNBC are propagating. But like I said before, he just had an uncanny way of delivering that obvious truth to us that made sense, and we could follow him. Still one of my favorites, and a sad day for his passing, but my goodness. I always liked what he said about the libertarians, that famous statement I always like, to use about the libertarians, when they're standing on things. And he said that the libertarians were, how's that go now?
They're just liberals that don't know it yet.
Yeah, just liberals. Yeah, I just love that. Liberals just don't know it yet because that's how far behind they are.
I truly believe he's correct on that. And look,
me too. Absolutely.
In our group, in our following, there are some libertarians.
I know.
I ain't mad at you. I'm just saying, your party's a freaking mess. You don't have a message. We would love to have you bring up some actual competition, because competition is good. But Chase Oliver, the guy you ran for president against Trump and Kamala, wow,
I know.
really,
Of all the choices of
really,
people to pick, you picked that guy? I don't understand your
right,
thinking. But hey, and that's and that just goes to show you exactly the thoughts or thinking behind the party right there. Yeah, it's nothingness. It's even worse than, well, it might be a couple steps ahead of Democrats, but I can't see it. If you ask me today, Sean, like we've talked about so many times, the mega movement is more going to be a separate party than the libertarians could ever make or hope to have. And I think they've done well in representing and sticking to the guns and holding firm on American values, true values. And I love that. That's why I say, that's why, as a Canadian, I would definitely stand behind the mega movement and become part of that because it's conservatism at its finest, with those values that we've held and esteemed, for, well, decade after decade, centuries. So I love.
right. No, no, no. It's so the I think the common libertarian that is a social media warrior is just a
Yeah.
limited government person, and that's their motto. In
Hey,
that we could all get behind, right?
while we're on
The
that subject,
problem is their party, the actual party, well, it maintains about a 3% vote turnout, which is required to stay as a party.
yeah,
Their party is a wreck,
yeah,
wreck. And I'm okay with competition. Now I'm not okay with
me too.
populism, and
No,
and
that's
we've
another
we've
thing.
we,
Yeah,
we've talked about this with Trump's current administration. It's a populist administration. I like so
another
like
thing.
if you want to get mad at me, please drop us a chat.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Trump is Democrat. He's always been a Democrat. He told you on Oprah he would run as a Republican and he would win. He didn't.
mhm, yeah.
Bobby Kennedy, Democrat. Elon Musk, Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat. Like,
Let's review some of that too, because so many people don't understand what it means to actually be a liberal or a conservative, Democrat, Republican, and that is big C conservatives like small government. In other words, we don't want all these social programs. We do not want the government having all these organizations, in other words, that looks after everything in life for us. That's one thing we don't want. And conservatives will tell you we do not want to be run by our lives, in other words, run by the government. We don't want all these stupid little organizations that are doing this and doing that. No, we don't want to pay for any of that. We don't want it. We want to be able to conduct our own lives, as we seem fit through the conservative / Christian values that we all grew up with and stick with that. Liberals, however, want all these government programs. We want everything. We want the welfare systems. We want this. We want that. We want all the tax dollars to pay for everything so we don't have to supposedly worry about anything. Not realizing, in a sense, you're voting for communism, but they don't know that.
what did William Bradford find out in his first winter
Oh, yeah.
at
It
Plymouth,
doesn't.
at the Plymouth colony?
Yeah, that it doesn't work. That people they won't produce if they don't have to. They won't. They like to take the easy way out because that's really human nature right there. The laziness to do nothing. They just sit back and let life happen. And or as some people say, let the universe talk to us. And they go, oh my God, And this is the liberal mentality we have to deal with. Oh, the
I
universe.
saw like it. I don't repost some of this stuff because it's nonsense and it's grifter and it's engagement
Lots of that
farming.
going on. Yeah.
But there's tons of that going on. We've experienced a lot of it in the last couple of years. So there was this video going around of this chick who apparently, I don't believe her because I didn't see him,
Uh,
yeah, 6 kids, and said she's now getting cut off of her food benefits and her Section 8, and says she refuses to work, and that Uh, you know what? If Trump's going to give out $5,000 per kid, she's just going to have more kids because she refuses to work. Like, so the video in itself is ridiculous, and you just
Well,
I scroll by, right? But
yeah.
but this is a mentality that's out there, and it's a liberal mentality that the
Right.
government is supposed to take care of me. All of you who are working are supposed to pay for me because
Uh,
of whatever socio-economic downfall I have that I can totally get myself out of. Or maybe you can't. And
right.
there's people who can't.
You know,
There
there,
are sometimes.
there's a
Sometimes there's
guy.
people who can't. But
Hmm. I
in
agree.
general,
Uh,
in general, they can get themselves out of it. It just like it hasn't like this mentality has been built into the human species. We see it. You could go read William Bradford's writings.
well, you don't have to do that.
He observed it in 1612.
More on that
So 400 years later, we're still seeing the same mentality.
because
Uh,
it's taught to us everywhere you go. They're screaming that stuff at us, and you know what? A guy I used to follow a long time ago, Ben Stein. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a Jewish guy.
yeah,
And oh, really? I thought he was pretty clever in a lot of his writings. And
super smart.
he had a book out. I can't remember the name of it now, and he talked about that same thing. The liberal mindset, and I forget the one phrase he did use. Uh, it left me now, but he talked about that constantly. You know, and we don't have enough people like him out anymore. Like the Ben Steins of the worlds, the Bradfords. We don't have people like that. The ones we did have, like Rush. Well, I find Trump like that today too. He's got that same basic mindset that is small government, and let's not have the government. Let's just have. Let's go back to the churches, the way we were, the way we grew up, with that sense of obligation and responsibility that everybody just seems to want to duck from. But that's exactly how we live, because we are obligated to the ones that come before us for the freedoms we have. And not just that, we have responsibility to one another too. And given to that old, college tried to make everybody's life a little bit easier instead of just throwing stuff in the face and say, okay, go to it, and that's it. That's all you get. That's disappointing. We have to give that little bit extra to everybody, and we're not doing that. It's just too damn
Well,
selfish out there today.
we got so let's go. You're right. Yes, you're right. Let's go with another thing I saw on social media. So I'll give credit where it's due. The account, the redheaded libertarian,
Ah,
posted that hey, do you want to know about how Christianity came to the states? And I said, would you? She goes, I'll do it. Look,
how? We know how.
probably don't. I said, yeah. Can you have a conversation? Because she's got a massive audience,
Okay.
bigger than ours, right? I was like, can you talk about the separatists? Can you talk about the Presbyterians, the separatists,
Uh-huh.
who were fleeing religious persecution in the tens and twenties of
I know.
1600,
Yeah.
and that's why they landed here when there was nothing. I mean, nothing. And they were sleeping on boats, and people were dying, and they didn't care. They were just goddamn determined to build a new separatist nation. Now it took a couple hundred years,
But
but they did it.
and needed to. I mean, we're and you know what? Those years, those centuries that we talk about, and you call them the Dark Ages, if you will, it's not accurate. It's not true. It's like saying, the 400 years between the Testaments were the silent years. That they were anything but silent, but everybody calls them that still. I mean, it just depends on who's writing these stories, and we get to see that those years, you don't hear all the action that happened because the universities won't talk about it. They won't teach you anything about it. They'll, make
No,
up.
no, no! Quickly. They say the opposite. They say all the white men came here and brought disease and
I
famine and
know.
slaughtered
I
the
know.
Indians. But
I know.
but that's not necessarily true.
I know it's not true. I know, but to listen to those dum dums because it sells books. And that's where they make their money. These idiot professors or absent-minded professors, I call them, more dum dums. And I'm almost offended that they keep this information suppressed. The real news, the real history that they want to make their own up. We should be talking more about that, and why we had to run away from Europe. We had the Muslims on us and we had the Catholics on us. Two different organizations that were against us, chopping our heads off.
And the
And
Church of England.
yeah, well, that was a new thing that started in the 1500s. Church of England. Yeah, that was the 1515. So you got 1525, 15, so almost 1600s before we had that formed. But yes, that was more of a split between. Okay, we're not really
Yeah,
against it.
yeah, but you still
Not
got
really.
you still got 100 years of them oppressing
I
the
know. Yeah,
separatists.
yeah, and that's
Right?
why
And when
we
people
had to
talk
go.
about pilgrims, they're using the term wrong. The term of this term pilgrim came around in the mid 1800s. It was, history gets rewritten.
No, no.
These people were separatists that were fleeing to the New World.
Yeah.
Separatists. They wanted to separate themselves from all of those churches you mentioned.
Yep, we had to because we were being persecuted, killed off. We had to go
Hmm.
somewhere, and like Christopher Columbus, remember I said that he couldn't go east. That's why he went west and found America because he couldn't because the Muslims would have for sure would have had his head. So he could only go west. That's why he ended up in the Americas because of that. So yeah, history is wrong there too. But let's not get into that because that just muddies the waters even more. And what people don't know because these school teachers are hammering home the falsities that they are. But anyways, yeah, I could go on
Well,
for hours.
I do think you got to point out that this was, it's always been about freedom of religion.
Yeah.
And to that point, that doesn't mean we welcome Muslims coming in and
Well,
jihad. We don't
no,
welcome that.
no,
We
because
want we want to be free from our government forcing us into a religion, and
yeah,
that's why this has always happened.
and keep one thing in mind too. America's been a multi-ethnic society, not a multicultural one. Nah, that's not true. It's a multi-ethnic one. The cultures you're leaving at home, you're American now. Our way of doing things, our life, our beliefs, our systems, not yours. And if you like yours so much, your cultures, stay over there and enjoy and live in them. But America's different. It's multi-ethnic. Yeah, we know that. But
Yeah.
it's not multicultural. That's a libtard term that they developed, and tried to make it look like, oh, we've accepted all cultures. No, we've accepted all ethnicities, but not all cultures. There's a big difference there, people. Quit messing up the terms of words as libtards always do to get their way and to turn things into their favor by changing the definitions of words or meanings. And that's just a wordplay by the libtards. And as a matter of fact, on my X page, I have that very thing, able to discern lib speak and understand it because that's exactly what they do. They're such liars, these rat libtards. You can't stand them, for what they do to people. But yeah, that's what's going on. And yeah, let's call it for what it is: multi-ethnic, not multicultural.
So, do you? Let me ask it this way: do you believe the Democrats that want all of these things in both Canada and America, this multiculturalism? Do you believe that they actually want Muslims to live in their neighborhood, or do you believe that they just want the destruction of the West?
You know what? I know some East Indians that fit in quite well with
Hmm.
our being Canadian and what that means and the term of what that means. And you can go back to 100 years and find out exactly what it means to be a Canadian. You can read it; it's not a secret, and they've done well to conform to that. Others, the newer ones today, no, they want to. You're doing it our way, and you're on our land, and that's the attitude they have. Like, we're paying for you to be here, even, which confounds me. But for some reason, the libtard government feels it's their duty to take our tax
So,
dollars.
what's the ultimate benefit of destroying the West? Let's get
Well,
into what it really is.
Well, you're taking down the last free nation. The West is the last free bastion of its freedom on Earth. So you take you mix up the cultures that we have right now and say, well, one's not any better than the other, and they're all the same, and you really don't have an identity because your identity means nothing. Then yeah, you've lost the freedoms because you can inject and interject anything you want, and they're going to have to buy it and gobble it up because that's what you voted for. And it's not that way at all. So that's what's happening. You can't be
Yeah,
you can't be a Canadian. You got to be this mishmash of whatever the heck they want to call it and whatever they want to make it. We don't have a choice at that point because now it's open
you
season
got to be
everything.
an Aboriginal Muslim from the Great North. Like,
In a wheelchair. Yeah, to get a pass on anything. I agree. You've covered pretty much
in a
everything.
wheelchair.
Yeah, Kenny
All
versus
right, so
Sting. You mentioned that to me before. It wasn't me.
yeah, no, it's true. Oh God, that's funny. All right, so I gotta let's do a couple of clips. We got about 9 minutes left.
All right.
And let me just get your reaction.
Sometimes
Uh,
I babble too much. You know that. I just get
no, no, no,
nervous
that's not it at
midway.
all. I also think so. The ability to have clips is to the ability to get reactions
All right.
from people that are up for me. So let me start with moving the Hoover building.
Say you want to move out of that building, where would the new headquarters be?
I can tell you that we are in the process of moving out. We've just worked out the final logistics to begin that process, and we are actually in line with keeping the American taxpayer dollars on mission, shuttering about 6 different offices the FBI has in the D.C. area, and we're moving to our new location within the D.C. area, and that process has already started.
Which is where? Maryland?
We're staying in Washington, D.C., right next to our partners at the Department of Justice, and we're getting out of the Hoover building. I have cargo nets holding up the cement structures of the exterior of the Hoover building because it catches falling cement and prevents it from hitting someone in the head. I'm not making that up. Why no one in the past decided to address that standard or lack of standard and make that building unsafe is beyond me, but we're addressing it.
So
That's in the American federal government. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I can't believe that building in that sort of disrepair, was going on unnoticed or just not even cared for. But I got to say, you could still make repairs and not have to build a brand new building. This is the FBI. They should be getting a little smaller for the damage they've done and punished for the damage they've done over the years. And let's get rid of the CIA altogether because I think the Five Eyes, all these different nations getting together, conspiring to make things worse, not better, and less freedom, not more freedom. So that's what the CIA is a part of, if you ask me. So that's my
Well,
take.
so well, that's FBI, not CIA. Yeah, CIA is part of that. I will concede. The State Department's actually a bigger part of it than the
Yeah,
CIA.
got to get rid of them.
But listen, that was cool to hear your thoughts, but I don't, I don't, I believe totally that the federal government would let a building go into such disarray and absolutely ignore it.
You think they would?
I
Like,
do, like, dude, I've seen it when, like, I've been a Fed. It was at a municipality, but it was a federally funded municipality. Totally would let stuff go into disarray. I will tell you that former municipality that I worked for is looking to do. It was a transportation.
oh,
So the bus system.
right.
They're absolutely looking to raise rates, but their total budget of local income, they get the time. Let's just say 8 years ago. I could was about 90 million locally, probably 700 or 800 million federally. They charge $1.75 for a ride on a bus, and they're saying that that's not enough. They're losing money. It was never meant to be. So public transportation is never meant to be about It's a welfare. It's welfare. It's welfare. We will
And,
get you somewhere in about 4 hours that you need to go
mhm.
for $1.75. Like, because our cost back then was $4.25 a ride, and we charged $1.75 for a ride. So the taxpayers are picking up the rest of the bill for your ride.
Yeah.
And it's just wholly mismanaged, and it's awful.
Uh-huh.
But I will tell you, I've seen things fall apart. I've seen system wide failures of stuff. Yeah, the government does an awful job at managing things.
It does.
Uh,
Yeah.
someone I was commenting on X over there to Indie Reporter at Indie Reporter what at underscore Indie Reporter underscore. I don't know why there's two underscores. He does a really good job of reporting on Indianapolis stuff, and he does a really good job of reporting on Indiana stuff. And I made some comments to him there about like you don't even know where the money's buried because most of it's federal.
Yeah.
And those are the questions you need to start asking at indie underscore reporter underscore. All
We needed the other one, so we'll give them that. That's okay.
right, we
Absolutely
got
not.
time for one more. Here's Cash again.
There are.
The Epstein thing, you dealt with Maria, you said, as far as you know, he killed himself.
I'm telling you, he killed himself.
The other thing on the internet is the Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever, but I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that, and it takes time to go through years of investigations, years of political maneuvering, and years of cover-up to get the American people what they deserve. And that's what I'm going to give them on everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of haters out there on the internet that say you're never going to get the Epstein files. Cash is saying you're going to get them. What's your thoughts?
You know what? Pam Blondie has been saying that for quite some time now, and love the girl and everything. Think she's smart, tip top, great girl. But I don't know why she's dragging this out longer than what it has to. She's got all the files. She said she's going through them all and digging out the protectionist part of things. But how much longer do you want to keep this rolling along? Come on, people. But yes. Miss Bondi there's got to do a better job.
Well, I'm going to pose this in the form of a question to make sure our podcast doesn't get banned, but you can answer it however you feel like. Do you think that the State Department is ever going to release means and methods in their own honeypot operation?
No.
Their own this whole boondoggle was a honeypot operation, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Not me either. And you know what? It's so dirty, so corrupt, and the Department of Injustice today. It's not the Department of Justice. We know that. We just go back the last 4 or 5 years to what Biden, Comey, who's the other guy for the CIA, Brennan. God,
Brennan.
So freaking dirty. And you know what? The president, Trump, was right when he said the dirty cops. He's absolutely correct in his assumptions, and nothing's being done about it. These people are just free to go and do whatever they want. No one's being held accountable. Those guys should be in jail right now, and they should be. Everyone knows those guys should be in jail for what they did. And this Russia, come on. I mean, the whole thing was so stupid. And the money and time it took when everything was going to hell in a handbasket, we're all concentrating on Russia, which wasn't even a true story. It was, another made-up thing by the libtards again, which is
the Russia hoax, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
Yeah.
They listen. And to everyone who says, you know what, let's just move on. No, I want them prosecuted.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
they ran a coup against the American people
Absolutely.
and installed a
Mhm.
president who did not have his faculties, and he
No.
did not have them in 2020 when he was running.
That's the whole
Incapable.
No, that's the thing with the auto pen that we've been talking about for a while. Yeah, I don't care if you want to post a picture of Obama and say that was the auto pen. No, it's much deeper than that. Obama was a dummy. He's an absolute idiot. I mean, all those things he was talking about again come from United Nations. He just had to repeat whatever they told him to. United Nations was running that guy because you look at Obama. The guy couldn't string two sentences together to form even a thought. The guy was that dumb. Have you heard him speak in public? And everybody's saying, "Oh, he's such a great speaker." Who are you even listening to? These guys are, but again, libtards in the media, of course, trying to, strengthen the guy's weak backbone that he had. And yeah, everything the guy, he was a fake in everything. A fake Christian because he was a Muslim, a fake, heterosexual because he wanted to be homosexual, a fake everything. Even his family was, everything about the guy was fake, including his birth certificate. And we know that because he didn't have one until Trump pressured him on it. So yeah, the whole thing is just, yeah. So there's my stand on it. I could go into more detail, but you probably don't want me to.
We gotta. Well, we hit our time. We're over it. We gotta close this one out.
No,
Put that in your notebook. The birther story. We'll have to talk about it. I'm closing it out now.
All right,
hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this impromptu Yankee and the